Hey, what is going on everyone? In this video we're going to talk about var, let, and const and what the differences are between them. And yeah, let's get started with the video. So I just created here an empty folder and we're going to create an index.html file just to have a little play zone within here. So index.html and shift 1 for boilerplate, and we're going to just type in here h1 var, let, and const. Actually, let me put an end sign. Okay, and down underneath our h1 we're going to create a script tag which we're also going to create. The script, let's call this main.js, and let's hit save and also create our script tag. Let's create it main.js. Okay, let's hit save and let's also open this up using live server. So I'm using live server for this purpose, and I'm also using Visual Studio Code. Visual. Okay, right click, open live server. Nice. Now let's open up also our console between. I'm using Google Chrome. Okay, so if you want to use Firefox, feel free to do so, but I'm going to go with Google Chrome. So var, let, and const in JavaScript. Now let's go into our main file and let me first of all type in here a couple of things. So to get started, first of all, we're going to start out with var. So I'm going to type in here comment. Let's say var. Then we're going to talk about let. And last one will be const. So var declarations are globally scoped or function scoped, while let and const are block scoped. Also, var variables can be updated and redeclared within its scope. Let variables cannot be redeclared but can be updated, and const variables can neither be updated nor redeclared. So I'm going to start typing in here a couple of things. So let's say initialization. I'm going to copy paste in here a couple of things for var. We have our first to do initialization. Oh, and by the way, I'm also using an extension called better comments. So if you go into extension, type in better comments, and then we'll get this extension. This helps me out a lot, honestly, for my code editing. And this just means if you type in here comment and type in to do, it's going to turn yellow. If you type in an exclamation mark, it's going to turn red. Question mark is going to turn blue, and a star, there's a star, is going to turn into light green, light greenish thing. Okay, so we have our first to do, which is initialize. Then we're going to have that redeclaration, and then the reassignment of the value. Now we're going to go through all three of this for actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, but we'll also have a fifth one which we're going to talk about in a couple of seconds. So let me first of all copy this in down for let and also for const. Now let's get started with the variable var. So let's create first of all a variable. Let's call it var, and I'm just going to actually down here under initialization. Initialize var, and let's say we're going to initialize a apple, not because I'm on an Apple machine, but just because I want to initialize an apple. Open and close column, and there we go, nothing happened. Now if I would do the same thing for, let's say, const down here, let's say const, let's call this const car, initialize it, then I'm going to get a syntax error which says missing initializer in const declaration. So const cannot be just initialized. I'm going to put it down here and comment it out. So first thing, difference between var, const cannot be initialized. Let, on the other hand, if I would create here a variable let, let's just call this one fruit. So let fruit, initialize it, then nothing happens, which also means it works. Now if I would console log here apple for our variable, then I would get undefined. But if I would console log it, so the variable exists but it's not defined. But if I would console log it before initializing it, then I would also get undefined. Now, if I do the same thing with let underneath of let, so after initializing it, so let's replace this with fruit, I would get undefined from 17, okay? But if I do this before initializing it, then I would get a reference error. So let cannot be initialized before using it, okay? And another thing, var, let, and const are always hoisted to the top. Now let's try out this. We couldn't even try this out with const because we cannot initialize const without giving it a value. So there's a huge difference between var, let, and const until now. Okay, so let's move further on. Declaration. Now I could take this var exactly as it is, var apple, and let's assign it to a green apple. Okay, now if I would console log this again, console log our apple, let's see what we get. We'll get from the line 10 green apple. So what happens if I try to redeclare it? Let's take this just as it is, copy it, but I'm going to replace this green apple with a red apple. What do you think will happen if I hit save? Any answers? Let's see, I will get red apple. Now what happened to my green apple up here? It still remained the same. So let's see what happens to the apple if I just take the apple as it is without using the var keyword, and I will reassign the value. So I would say here a string of, yes, say yellow apple. Yellow apple. Now take a look at the line 14, and let's also console log this down here. So take a look at the line 15 and 20 here in our editor. Let's hit save, and now you'll see we have, where do we have it? We have green apple, red apple, and yellow apple. So this means var can be redeclared, reassigned, and yeah, that's basically it. But what about let? Now let's do the same thing for let. So let's see, let fruit. Let's first assign it a value, let fruit, and let's say banana. Okay, let's hit save, console log this. So let's say fruit. Now I'm already getting a syntax error, which indicates that, wait a second, I should have put it down here. Because I already initialized it up here, I cannot redeclare it. So let me comment this part out. Now we're going to have a hoisting problem, but down here, so let's comment this to out, this to console logs, because as we said, let cannot be read before being declared. Now if I would go down and let's just say that we give it now a value, we can now console log our banana. But if I would redeclare it, so let's say instead of let fruit, banana will say apple, and hit save, then we will get a syntax error. Identifier fruit has already been declared. So this does not work. Now let's stick with banana. So I'm going to comment out our second console log, and let's see if we can reassign it a value. So we said that fruit had the value of banana. Now let's change it to apple, and let's console log the fruit again. Now let's hit save, and as you can see, let can be reassigned. So the value of let can be reassigned. It cannot be redeclared, so I cannot use the keyword let again for the fruit, but I can use the fruit variable and give it another value. Now what about const? Well, const is complicated. It's not complicated, it's actually simple. It can do anything from what we did up here. It can neither be redeclared, reassigned, or it can neither change its value. So all we can do with const is give it a specific value which we know it would not change throughout our code later on. Okay, so if you don't believe me, let's also try this out. Let's create a const with car. And let's give it a value of, let's say BM, no, let's say Tesla. One day Tesla, one day. Now let's console log our Tesla. So console log car. and we get our Tesla. If I would try to redeclare it, I will get an error, syntax error, identify car has already been declared. Now, if I would try to reassign it, let me copy this and change the value. So comment this one out and take out the keyword of const, and let's say BMW, hit save, and as you can see, we cannot neither redeclare nor change its value. So const was introduced with ES6, and there was a problem with var. Now, because of the scope of var, variables declared with var could be changed wherever you wished in the code. And this, when you have a lot of code, this will lead to huge problems there. And that's why ES6 introduced let and const. Now, let is a variable, it can vary, but const cannot vary, it will remain the same. So when you're declaring something with the keyword const, you should declare something that you know it will not change. Like, for example, a first name. A last name for a person could change if they got married. She or he could change their last name. And also age, people age. Date of birth, on the other hand, I would use const, because the date of birth will remain the same. You cannot go back in time and be born on another day. And with this being said, hey, thanks a lot for watching. Catch you next time. Bye-bye. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed my video. If you did, thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down. And if you want to see more content like this, then click on the subscribe button and also the bell notification in order to get notified whenever I post more videos like this. So, see you next time. Bye-bye.